What's going on, MSFers? Doolum here, back again with another video. And today, we're going to be talking about Cosmic Crucible and my defense for week number 2. And you're going to see some things have changed. So, in room number 1, we had Annihilators, Mephisto, sometimes Sus was in there too. I was trying to throw Sus around in other places, but here's what we're doing now. So we are splitting up the Annihilators. And here's why. Because Thanos on his own is a whole team in room number 1, essentially. And it forces most people to have to take in an Apocalypse in there, because if not, then you're going to trigger his passive, and he's going to rain hell on you, essentially. And you're going to get deleted. You're going to get one shot. So the thought here is just putting Thanos in here, but then I'm also putting in Kahori, because Kahori is a nuts character, especially the bigger you have her. She's extremely stat dependent. Same thing with the new Ms. Marvel. So you'll see here, I do have the new Ms. Marvel. I got very, very lucky with a RNG orb pull and was able to unlock her. If you do not have the new Ms. Marvel, put Ms. Marvel Hardlight in here. Because what Ms. Marvel Hardlight is going to do is going to mess up, even if they bring in APOC into this room. Because when APOC ult gets empowered, Ms. Marvel Hardlight gets a reflexive taunt. So if you can't punch Thanos, and you're forced to punch Ms. Marvel, you got problems. So that's a great alternative for you guys. And now you'll see here, I do have Ironheart and Wasp at pretty massive stats. I am going to be taking Ironheart to probably 3 diamond as well, because of how nutty this team is. Also, I have a lot of diamonds left over, so why not? But I have them all as Raider. I do have Ms. Marvel as a healer, because even with the room rules, she's not doing much damage. She's there to heal a bunch, and the healer ISO is going to augment that healing that she does for the team and the absolute A-Force team. But yeah, this room is all about Thanos because of his passive being below 50% health, deleting people. You've seen it. It's pretty funny. All right, room number 2. We've got 3-piece Annihilators in Silver Surfer, Gladiator, and Gore. And then we've got Dormammu here for revives, and then we've got Super Skrull. So this room is still going to take a very big team, even without Thanos in here. Remember, Gore removes revives if they're trying to bring in an Old Man Logan in here. They have revives because Dormammu is in here. You've got the villain buff working, so Super Skrull is going to do way more damage. He's also going to rewind a lot more with his special. The hero buff we're not getting, so we're not getting that ability block on his special, which honestly, not really that big of a deal. But this room is going to be is really good. I've seen people struggling with this a lot, because people look at this and go, oh, their first thought is Cabal because Super Skrull's here. But you can't Cabal this because Gladiator still has 2 Annihilator allies, so you can't put on that vulnerable until Gladiator's below 50% life. And at 3 diamonds, purple fortifier 3, that's not an easy feat. So this will be a really interesting room to see how this plays out. I've seen people using it last week, and I really liked the idea. Like, really, really, really liked the idea of it. So I figured, why not copy it? Because duh. So this is what I'm going to be running here. I really think this is going to be awesome. And it's also in the what you wish for room. So when using an ultimate ability, generate 1 ability energy for each enemy. So this means if you're ulting into them, guess what's going to happen? You're going to give Dormammu the opportunity to ult turn 1. You're going to potentially give Super Skrull the ability to ult turn 1 if you use 2 ultimates before Super Skrull takes a turn. You're going to give just turn meter out the wazoo to people, which is really, really awesome. So that could be pretty devastating if you are not expecting that as well. Room number 3, Odin Illuminati with a pre-taunt. That's right. I'm a bad person. The pre-taunt here stops the Nightcrawler counter, essentially. But guess what? You could do that Infinity Watch sack that I've talked about in a previous video for my offensive weapons that you should be using for Crucible in Season 12. So if you haven't seen that one, go check it out. But yeah, you can definitely use an Infinity Watch sack on this team. I also have Odin as a fortifier, because Odin does a lot more draining when he's a fortifier. So he's actually healing a lot more. So he almost always wins those 1v1s when it's just Odin v Odin if they're trying to one-shot this room for whatever reason. So that's also really, really nice, and I love having that. Obviously, Hank, Shuri, Captain Britain, all great things to have on defense. This team is just always going to be really good. It's going to take a sack because you're trying to one-shot that Captain Britain and come in with Superior 6. So it's always going to be really good. Also in the When It Rains room, all the negative effects you're putting on them get extended. All the positive effects they're putting on themselves are getting extended as well. So they have safeguard, immunity, taunt, all that kind of stuff for longer. So this team is really, really good in 3. Next up, we have Orcus with Cable. And for this one, I was straying away from using Cable in this room. But I'm genuinely curious to see how well this does with Cable's new stats. Because remember, Cable is at almost 1,000,000 power now. And we can go look at his stats. His stats are kind of nuts. We'll go down here, and Cable sitting here at 9 million health and also 600,000 damage. So if Cable gets to take a turn, he's going to be hitting like an absolute freight train. He's also no longer a liability with Orcus because people were bringing in Hive Kang into this team. Now, Cable is no longer a liability that's just going to get pushed under that 30% health threshold to give Hive Mind turn meter. So he's going to be an asset to this team. He's got that rewind on his special. He's got pretty much a delete button on his ultimate now. So that's going to be pretty interesting. I'm genuinely curious to see what people are going to try into this other than just Night Stalkers, which I have a feeling will continue to happen, but that's fine with me. If you want to use Night Stalkers here, guess what? That means you can't use Night Stalkers in 1, which yes, I have been seeing people use cracking out Night Stalkers in 1, and it has worked, but you can't use it in 1, then you can't use it anywhere else. So that's kind of nice. So I'm genuinely curious to see if even maybe Night Stalkers can get thrown off because my Orcus is getting pretty beefy. I'm just missing Sentinel to get to that 7, to get all 7 stars, all 3 diamonds. So that's pretty nice. Next up in room number 5, we're keeping the same thing, that pre-taunt Spider Society room. The biggest thing about this is make sure you're using Noir as a striker and Peter B as a skirmisher. The reason why is because SD Eternals is what comes in and beats this, right? So if you have a striker skirmisher combo with Noir and Peter B, you can get a one-shot. I've just deleted your Icarus. I've deleted your Cersei. I've deleted someone on your team by accident, essentially. So that could be really, really nice to have and can throw off a defense or throw off an offensive attack entirely just based on RNG. So that's always really nice to have. Is this team impossible to beat? Absolutely not. Is there anything better to put in here? Not really, honestly. This team, it still takes a pretty good team to beat it. There's still some RNG to it, which I love throwing RNG on my defense because it just messes with people. So I still think this is going to be the best option to run here. What you could absolutely do here is you could swap Zombie Juggernaut and you could swap Sasquatch. So Sasquatch continues to get the taunt over and over again in room 5, so it forces them to use like a big time Spider-Man. That's absolutely an option and something I could end up doing, but it's not really going to change too much. But yeah, room 5 staying the same. It's still pretty good. And then in room number 6, I've got Astral with Mephisto. And the reason why I chose to put Mephisto here is because my Astral is quite tiny. I have Moondragon for offense for Infinity Watch sack reasons, and Doctor Strange is the only rework. Obviously, Shadow King is pretty big. The other 2 new characters are not that big. So I wanted Mephisto in here to kind of augment this room a little bit. If I notice that room 4 is still getting beat by Night Stalkers, and it just doesn't change much, what I'm probably going to end up doing is swapping Mephisto over to here instead of using Cable here, and then using somebody else in room 6 as a 5th member for this, because unfortunately the room rules in 6 just don't mean anything. They're not going to do anything good for you. They're not going to help you out at all. It's a kind of a nothing burger room, and I think unfortunately that is not at the fault of Updog. I think that is at the fault of a slight miscommunication between devs and how we wanted the room to work and how the room actually works. So that's kind of unfortunate, but it's kind of how the world works. But this is going to be my defense. So this is going to be a pretty staunch defense. Again, I know people have been using that SD Eternals comp here, which means you have Hard Light using here, being put in here, obviously, for SD. So if you do have her on defense, you don't need Hard Light to beat this defense. You can figure it out. It's just big time Spider-Man. It's nothing too crazy. But yeah, I have a feeling this defense is going to do some really, really good things against the opponent. This also keeps Nightcrawler on offense, obviously. MOE, which is just Kang now. Cabal. You've got plenty of offensive weapons to be able to take out a really good team. And it's making your defense even better because we're splitting up those Annihilators now. So you're getting 2 badass rooms from just the Annihilators being in there, because Thanos is just all room 1. The reworks are going to be scary. Kahori's ridiculously good. Same thing with Ms. Marvel, the new one. I don't know what she's called. I haven't looked. I don't care. And then now you can still use Sus, Storm, and Annihilators in 2. Again, this defense is going to be pretty gnarly. This does give you the option if you want to use Mephisto on offense. That is absolutely an option. I know I talked about it in my Cosmic Crucible Season 12 offensive tools. That is an option as well if you want to use a Mephisto on offense. But I still like him on defense. I'm still playing with the idea. But that's going to be it for this one. That's going to be my defense for week number 2. I will obviously tweak it as the weeks go, so make sure you're checking out my videos as the week progresses, so you can see how my defense progresses as well to keep on winning as much as you can. But that's going to be it for this one. Until next time, this has been Duelim. Later, MSFers.